Welcome to another edition of Winging It with Sandy, and today we're looking at what you can and can't bring onto an aircraft or pack into your bags. So, welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. So let's kick this off, shall we? So
Please do.
today
Yep.
we're going to dive into the weird and wonderful world of what you can and what you can't bring onto a plane. Some of these rules make perfect sense, but some others it feels like they were invented mid-flight by someone in a pressurized cabin haze. From snow globes to salami sticks, it's actually quite a complicated checklist.
Yeah, it sure is. I'm amazed actually. So, let's get into it.
All right, so we'll kick off with power banks. This one gets people every time. Currently, you can bring them, but only in carry-on. So this is because they use lithium-ion batteries, which under the right or wrong conditions can catch fire. There have been multiple cabin fires actually happening from these, like the Air Busan incident that was earlier this year that forced a full evacuation. They're banned from checked luggage because if anything ignites down there, it's a lot harder for the crew to detect and contain it. At least in the cabin, they've got fire containment bags and extinguishers at the ready. Personally, I always travel with a power bank, not necessarily for the flight itself, as you can normally plug in to a USB on the flight, but for everything after the flight. So phones, camera gear, gimbals, you name it. Imagine if they were banned completely. So what then? You have to buy one in every city that you travel to and then bin it before flying each time. That sounds quite wasteful and expensive and an environmental disaster as well. But I did wonder, are we just taking everyone's word for it when it comes to power banks in suitcases? Like once you check your bag, do they actually scan them for these lithium batteries? Because it's a big fire risk if you are leaving it to the honor system. So I know that your checked luggage is scanned with quite sophisticated scanners, but does it pick up the lithium batteries? GT, can you confirm on this one?
Yeah, look, great comment, Sandy, and a lot of people are confused about that. Check baggage scanners automatically flag lithium batteries through an automated detection algorithm. Items containing power banks or spare cells trigger level 2 inspections, requiring baggage retrieval and potential fines. Now, airport CT scanners for checked bags create a 3D model showing battery locations. And now, in the US, the FAA, for instance, mandates a fine of between $300 and $2,000 for undeclared lithium batteries in cargo holds, in other words, checked baggage. A single drone battery in checked baggage could delay a handling for 45 minutes while security teams verify the violation, which means you and your bag probably may not go on the flight. So you always must declare batteries at check-in counters and follow the IATA packing instruction 965. Now, that instruction is 33 pages long, so I'm not going to read it right now. I'll put you all to sleep. So there's a link to it below in the description if you need to read it. Simple solution is carry these batteries with you, please. It's really important. But as I said, the link is below in the description.
Okay, good to know. So next up, lighters. This is an oddly specific one because you are allowed one per person. And I've actually been told this before that it has to be on your person, not in your bag, not in your carry-on, on you. Apparently, it's about the risk because a lighter in a bag could spark a fire unnoticed. But if it's in your pocket, the crew can find it faster if something goes wrong. Is this correct?
Look, Sandy, as I understand it, um, yes, that is correct. But there are other limitations too, are there not?
Yes, vapes. While we're talking about lighters, vapes. So these ones, they are allowed. Again, only in carry-on though, and never ever in checked luggage because it's that same lithium battery issue. Australia here caps you at two devices, 20 accessories, and 200 mils of e-liquid. And remember, you can't charge them mid-flight or definitely use them mid-flight unless you want to be met by security. Do you know more specific rules on these kind of items?
Yes, look, and we should mention here, whatever you do, do not light a cigarette on an aeroplane. I know that some people try and do it in the toilets. The alarms go off. So what do? They throw the cigarette into the bin, which is full of paper. And all of a sudden, you've got a fire. And that fire will very quickly become uncontained, and very quickly you will lose that aeroplane. You're basically playing with death if you light up a cigarette on an aeroplane, because you will get sprung, and you will try and hide it, and you will set fire to a waste bin, and that will and has resulted in planes being lost. So please, that's so important. But to answer your question, there's a very expansive list from ICAO about what you can and can't take on an aeroplane. And again, it's a very expansive list. So there is a link below so you can become better informed. While some are simple, like scissors, well, that's a no-brainer. There's also blunt instrument category, which we are showing you on the screen right now. It includes cricket bats, fishing rods, golf clubs, hockey sticks, kayak and canoe paddles, and skateboards. So you need to be across the detail of what is and what is not allowed on board the cabin of an aircraft. Again, there is a link below.
All right, so this one's another one that we're all familiar with, the liquids, the 100 mils rule. It's iconic, it's irritating, and surprisingly not based on how dangerous your hand cream actually is. It came in 2006 after they foiled a terror plot where they were going to use liquid explosives disguised in drinks. So now everything has to go in Ziploc bags like you're on school camp. The limit isn't about what the liquid even is, it's about how much you actually have.
Yeah, now there's some variations, and that relates to duty-free purchased or delivered airside at the airport. So, and also there are exceptions which may apply for medications and baby formula, but you need to check, as there are variations between countries. There's variations between domestic and international. So check the airport website that you're going to be leaving from or transiting, or the airline website, to get the very latest information, because it's constantly changing.
All right, so this is where it's going to get real and a bit more weird and interesting. Food. So technically, you can actually bring your own food on board. There are no specific rules about what's socially acceptable to actually eat on board. So you could have people with egg sandwiches, tuna, or my biggest hatred, coriander. It's apparently legal and awful. Remember, though, if you are international, fresh meat, dairy, and produce can actually get confiscated on arrival. It's more about the customs and the biosecurity than cabin safety. But just make sure it's gone before landing, because it's probably not going to survive customs, especially with a beagle and a high-vis vest waiting for you at the other end.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, Sandy, what about wild card items that you wouldn't even dream of being a problem?
Yes, the wild card items, the ones that make you do a double take. So, snow globes, weirdly banned, unless you can actually prove that the liquid inside it is under 100 mils. Knitting needles, apparently safe to bring on board. Being crafty is acceptable. Toy guns, definitely not allowed. Even big bright orange plastic ones, but which I think makes complete sense. Bringing anything shaped like a weapon into a cabin feels like a no-brainer. Musical instruments, cellos, guitars, you can bring them, but only if you buy them a seat. So a
Mm.
lot of these rules are grounded in genuine safety concerns, but some of these rules seem to be hanging around more out of tradition than actual logic. A quick check could actually just save you from a lot of delays, awkward conversations at security, or watching your belongings get confiscated and disappear into the bin. It's a rough start to any journey when your essentials haven't made it past security.
Yes, you're so right, Sandy. And the issue is the rules keep changing, as I mentioned, to meet the threat. I know it's really irritating, but these rules are there to protect you. For instance, and I should have known, I had two magnificent bottles of New Zealand wine given to me in the South Island of New Zealand. I travelled domestically up to Auckland to transit to an international flight. So I carried them with me, not a problem on a domestic flight, no issue. But when I got to the transit security check, guess what? I lost them. That was it. And I thought, oh, cripes, of all the people in the world who should know what you can and can't do, I got caught. And, when the COVID finished and we started traveling again, particularly where we are in Western Australia, we were banned from traveling basically anywhere for 2 years. My wife's and I first trip, I sort of thought, now hang on, what can we take and what can't we take? And I had to sort of look it up to sort of refresh my memory on what was allowed and what was not. And to this day now, I still do that. I still just do another check because things are changing all the time, and you don't want to get caught out. You really don't. So it's a bit of a dilemma, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, but an interesting one.
Yeah, look, it is, and it's something that is really important to make the trip more comfortable, more enjoyable, less stressful, because there's nothing worse than getting something valuable taken off you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, one of the things that airports do every 6 months is they have big auctions of all the items that were confiscated at security, and you look at all these items and you think, cripes, there's some very, very valuable stuff here that got forgotten or taken or forgotten. And people leave lots of stuff behind. And I've done that too. I've left a laptop behind in Paris, which fortunately I was able to get back. But at Charles de Gaulle Airport, I was so stressed and running short of time on a international to domestic transfer. The laptop was shunted off for a special check, and I had to go back through the scanners and one thing and another, and I completely forgot the laptop because we were racing to get a domestic flight, and luckily I got it back. But yeah, you don't want to lose a laptop. So yeah.
Better than losing a passport, though. That one would be a little bit stressful too.
Yes, look, absolutely. That is really something that you've just got to, have a mental checklist or have a checklist. Just make sure you tick all the boxes. Absolutely. So, Sandy, I think that wraps us up for today, does it not?
It does. I would
Yeah.
I would love to read some comments about other things that people have either had confiscated before or have heard about not being allowed or was allowed on in some cases. Love to hear
Yeah.
what people.
I think that'd be terrific. And why don't we sort of loop back on Friday and have a session looking at all the comments that we'll get for sure from viewers. So, viewers, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to us. Please like us. Please send those comments in. We'd love to hear about your security experience, good or bad. And in fact, the worse it is, the better, because it makes for good television, if you like. And thank you, Sandy, for joining us today. It's been great as usual.
My pleasure, as always.
Thank you.